feel like we're beating a dead horse here because, these lists, how complicated can they really get at a certain point? It's always just like Brendan Schaub, Bert Kreischer. I think Tom Segura now is in a hated comedian category. Not by me. These are just the obvious things. I've already watched a video on Brendan and his situation, and I'm like Brendan out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely not I won't say that I can't watch a 2-hour video essay, because I have, but not when it comes to like a comedian sucking. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference. Now, if that comedian has like some crazy, like they secretly ran a drug cartel and that's the reason why they got in a bit of trouble, then I'd be like, oh, yeah, I could probably watch a 2-hour video essay on that. But like Brendan Schaub, just like, he pees in the sink, and he's kind of a bad person, but he hasn't like murdered anybody. It's like, well, I don't know.
I've admired comedians.
Shane is,
there's another 5 who are completely despised, and it's no secret
Tom is like a new one now.
The joke thief Dane Cook fits snugly into category 2. In 2005, Dane Cook was listed as the world's most famous comic, although despite
Dane doesn't get
being
nearly
known
as much
by
hate
an
now.
audience of millions, he was notably hated by every other comedian.
As many of the Louis C.K. thing.
Host stated, "Not one comedian comes on my show and says I'm so happy for him, which is weird. They can't stand this poor guy, the reason for which being jealousy, at least according to Dane."
A lot of jealousy, a lot of animosity that I, at a young age, was famous.
I'm going to throw out a hot take here. I'm not necessarily like a Dane Cook fan, but I do think that some of the hate towards him is overinflated. Like, I haven't found him to be like as hacky as certain other comedians. The Louis C.K. joke stealing thing was obviously bad. That might have been a little bit of like parallel thinking, whatever they call it. It's not like a Mencia moment where one clearly yoinked, but whatever.
Hanging around with beautiful women, rich.
Although the real
That's
reason
my controversial
might have been because
opinion.
Dane had stolen their jokes, given he was called out for copying a bit done by Louis C.K.
You can name your kid anything you want. I like that part. I'd like to give my kid an interesting name, Like a name with no vowels, maybe,
See, like, I could see somebody else coming up with this, to be real with you, which is crazy, okay? Which is a crazy thing to think about, but I could see somebody coming up with this on their own. But I don't even think I remember what Dane Cook's original
Like 40 Fs, that's his name.
I already have names picked out. I don't even know. First kid, boy, girl, I don't care. The first one that comes out, I'm naming it. I think it's beautiful. It's feminine but strong at the same time. Time for bed.
This is what I'm talking about. I feel like I could definitely see 2 separate people coming up with this exact same joke. Louis C.K. even threw out like the whole just vowels or no vowels thing.
I said time for bed.
Fans then noticed Dane had also copied a bit by Dimitri Martin at
This I
around
didn't
the same
know.
time.
I went into a shoe store and I said, hey, can I get those in a 10? The guy said, sure, and he went in the back. And a couple minutes later he came out and he goes, I don't have a 10, I have a 9. Great.
What is
While
Dimitri?
you were in the back, my toes were severed off.
What is Dimitri Martin even up to? He used to have a show on Comedy Central.
She walks out. She comes up to me, you guys, so enthusiastic, such like optimism. She's holding a boot. She comes right up to me and she goes, we have it in a 9.
Ooh, the exact number is awkward.
You guys also have a bone saw anywhere nearby?
With Patrick CC running through
That one's a little more awkward. The Louis C.K. joke, it's like I could see them both kind of coming at that from like different angles, like 2 separate thoughts. That one is like almost like down to the number. The same number and the bone saw thing. Oh, I severed my toes off. Oh, bone saw. To sever I don't know, man.
even more examples in this video before touching on another reason Dane Cook is hated. His joke about the Batman movie theater shooting.
So I heard that the guy came into the theater about 25 minutes into the movie, and if you've seen the movie, the movie's pretty much a piece of crap. Pretty sure that somebody in that theater about 25 minutes in realizing it was a piece of crap probably was like, oh, shoot me.
The controversial joke resulted in article after article.
It's worse. It's the thing is, it's a good movie. That's why I don't even that joke
as well as
sucks.
Twitter
'cause I like
post
that movie.
reading. Anyone who knows me knows I think Dane Cook is the single worst comedian ever. He's never been funny. Now he's just an awful human being. But while Dane Cook isn't liked for his disrespectful and sometimes stolen jokes, Theo Von is hailed for his unusual originality. His sense of humor has been described as so creative, unique, hilarious, and unorthodox that I can't compare him to any other comedian, which summarizes Theo Von perfectly.
Theo is like so I mean, he genuinely is just so good, man. And it's so funny because he's so clever and he's so smart about some of his jokes, but he's got this like persona of just being like the dumb redneck dude. But there's sometimes like he sneaks in jokes. It's so funny. There's compilations of like Theo Von being on Joe Rogan's podcast and Joe just not picking up on the jokes that Theo Von is dropping because he's just so like nonchalant about some of his jokes.
The few guys,
he genuinely is
Theo's
great.
one of them that have like a style of comedy that you will never be
Joe.
able to explain to someone. They gotta go see him.
When you hear him say, "We had this one guy," you know you're about to hear a wild story full of bizarre situations and metaphors described in the strangest yet most perfect way possible.
This gentleman had half a limb, and
which limb?
He was missing part of his leg, I think, or he said he was, so he could have been faking it.
CGI or something.
I don't know what his name was.
You see what I'm saying? Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows, dude. He's a genius, man.
CGI. It was a white dude.
Okay, yeah.
He's the absolute king of the metaphor. Whenever he says something is kind of like etc., it's always the funniest, most outlandish comparison
he's a genius.
I've ever heard.
You look like a guy if somebody had a cheat code in Double Dragon, bro. And they got to use an ultimate character, man.
Yeah, Dan Tony.
Hey,
I remember when he had a podcast with Brendan, and he was just so much funnier than Brendan at these insults, man. You know, you can only do so much.
Man, dude.
There are multiple...
Like, it would be so hard. Like, imagine where you just had to get into a roast battle back and forth with Theo Von, who would just come up with the most random stuff. Like, even if it wasn't necessarily, like, a burn, it would still be funny, and, like, everyone would forget about whatever dumb shit you're about to say.
Compilations dedicated to Theo Von's absolutely wild sayings, although at the same time he's able to show his softer, more vulnerable side in moments where it's appropriate. Theo's podcast this past weekend has risen to become the 7th most popular podcast on Spotify, while Brendan Schaub's bad reputation has caused his podcast to trend in the opposite direction.
I have nothing to say
Brendan
here.
had previously been a UFC fighter.
True.
However, after a string of losses, he was convinced by Joe Rogan and Brian Callen to retire and instead pursue comedy.
You have a future in other things and you're really good at.
Wasn't this only like 2016? I guess that was, man, that was, like 8 years ago. That's crazy to think about, huh? He's aged, is what I'm saying.
You say funny shit, man.
Yeah, you do. You have a ridiculous talent for that.
Although with comments on Brendan's stand-up like, "This is the best example of normal people thinking they're funny because they make their friends laugh," his sets aren't exactly the greatest. His first stand-up special titled You'd Be Surprised received an IMDb rating of 1.4 out.
Bro, I'm going to tell you right now, there's some times where like I just understand that I just don't get it. Like most of Amy Schumer's Netflix special. Actually, I think all of Amy Schumer's Netflix specials, I've been like, you know what? I just don't get it, but it is what it is. There's people laughing. I don't know. It's for somebody else. There's some times where I hear a Brendan Schaub joke and I think like, who is this really even for?
Out of 10 stars, and was labeled in front of millions as the worst comedy special I've ever seen. It was so bad that even Joe Rogan made a few little jokes about it.
The first one, I would have probably tried to talk you out of it, but I already talked you out of fighting. Yeah. And I was like, I can't talk him out of this too.
However, for Brendan, the worst was yet to come. 3 years after his first special, Brendan Schaub released another one titled Gringo Papi, which received an even lower IMDb score of 1.1 out of 10 stars, meaning he was unable to sell it to a major buyer like Netflix. Instead, he uploaded the special to his YouTube channel, where it received an 85% dislike ratio and comments such as, "Damn."
Which, to be fair, that's what like Shane Gillis' specials are. I'm surprised that Tom Segura still gets specials on Netflix, to be honest with you. I'm not really surprised that Dave Chappelle does, because Dave Chappelle's like a huge name, you know what I mean? Tom Segura, I guess I'm a little surprised. I don't hate Tom Segura either, by the way. I actually think Tom Segura is genuinely like really funny. It's not like a Dane Cook situation where it's like, I just don't hate him. You know what I mean? I legit think Tom Segura is funny as shit, but I do realize with his whole like poor people thing he's been doing lately. You know what I mean?
And this guy sure has some hidden talent. Hope he finds it one day. Every time I feel down, I watch Gringo Papi. Then I realize whatever has me down or whatever adversity I am facing isn't as bad as this comedy special. It's a Brendan.
Hey, by the way, if you ever want to know Brendan Schaub's record, just say that he was never good at fighting, because there are still people that are big Brendan Schaub fans that will let you know every fight he's ever had and his record. Everything you need to know about his fighting. If in case you want to know, it's probably faster than Googling. They show up.
Schaub's stand-up special when the comments are funnier than the actual video. With the stand-up again being labeled as the worst comedy special of all
Nick
time,
is Not Green
it
sucks,
seems
though.
Brendan's main problem is
that dude behind that YouTube channel. Remember when he like was part of the whole cancel thing behind Super Mega? I don't know if you guys watched Super Mega Man, but he was like going out of his way. Like he had all these people, and then it turned out it wasn't quite true, everything that was going on. He's had to apologize like 3 different times or some shit, which, you know, I'm not for the apology videos. They're insanely boring to me, but that dude just sucks, man. He's like, he's just...
isn't very skilled, and the audience has therefore been
Everyone loves
gravitating
Shane.
towards
I love
Shane
Shane.
Gillis. He got his big break in 2019 after being cast on Saturday Night Live, which he was then fired from immediately after the media dug up controversial comments made on his podcast.
And then I got canceled immediately.
You got canceled on the way.
His specials are
like,
so
how about
good,
this
too.
guy? And everyone was like, no.
Shane
was it, a
responded
Live in
by
Austin
writing,
one?
I'm a comedian who pushes boundaries. Sometimes I miss. If you go through my 10 years of comedy, most of it bad, you're going to find a lot of bad misses. But while this made him unsuitable for SNL...
That's what makes Shane so great, too, man, is that he is just, like, not afraid to bomb in, like, the funniest way. Look up the roast of, I think it was Louis J. Gomez, right? Was that who they were? They were roasting Louis J. Gomez, because it was Legion of Skanks. Watch Shane Gillis roast the entire panel. Like, he's just... There's many jokes where he's, like, obviously aware, like, this is a bad joke, but he's so good at the delivery and he's so just unafraid of bombing that it hits. Like, he's self-aware enough that it hits. And on top of that, it's not just, that's not, like, not the only thing he does either. Because some people will do that. They'll just purposely be bad all the time. And it's like, if you're just purposely being bad as a joke, okay, I get to a certain extent, I'm just going to get tired of it. You know what I mean? Shane still has actual good jokes too, which is, and probably one of the best Donald Trump impersonations you'll literally ever hear.
This was ironically exactly what the wider comedy audience wanted. No wonder SNL fired him, he's actually funny.
Yeah.
This, in combination with the mountains of press from the incident, took Shane's popularity to a whole new level.
The months after SNL, our listenership probably quadrupled. Because then people heard about it and watched it.
So it's helped the podcast.
Like, this is actually funny.
So it's helped the podcast.
Tremendously.
Only made crazier when
Hey man, as it turns out, when you're just funny, you know what I mean? If your heart's in the right place, but you're still just funny, you know, this sure said some offensive stuff, but Shane Gillis, come on. You know his heart. Look, he's like a Down syndrome teddy bear, man. You like, how can you get mad, you know? I guess you could if you get mad at everything, but me personally, watch this special.
Post his live set in Austin, which gained
on
over
YouTube.
20 million views by touching on funny political topics, although in a good way where it felt like he didn't have an agenda.
And I don't want to be on the other side of it where it's like, I'm a free speech guy. It's like, dude, I don't want to be involved in any of this. I just want to do comedy.
Shane's great attitude and likable personality has made him the most subscribed person on Patreon with around 75,000 paid members, in comparison to Carrot Top, whose style was so unique.
What have I missed about Carrot Top? I haven't heard anything from Carrot Top in a long time.
The whole industry turned against him. He gained popularity as a prop comic in the 90s, but while his shows were extremely smart and absolutely hilarious,
He's Jack.
O.J. Simpson's football. Okay, go deep, honey. Go deep.
his bizarre look and style made him a punching bag for anybody and everybody.
You're a funny guy, man, and you at least used to take a lot of shit, and I never understood it.
I don't either. I never have.
Oh, he looks
I would
wild.
get shit for everything.
It's like Nickelback.
This became most obvious
It's like Nickelback. Is he wearing eyeliner?
when Carrot Top simply flew over his city in a fighter jet.
And the next day on the front page of the paper, Carrot Top disrupts city with flyover. And everyone's up in arms because the building shook and everybody was oh, what, there's a war happening? And I think they were really, honestly, just pissed because it was me.
And in a Reddit thread talking about him, the only reasons people had to hate Carrot Top was he's annoying, not funny, and comes across as a gigantic douchebag, which pretty much confirms the theory. Carrot Top's name has become synonymous with bad comedian we should make fun of. In another article, Carrot Top was described as the most successful comedian no one will admit to liking, with one of these haters being another comedy legend.
Wow. So is Billboard just going coals on me? I mean, just right?
He does that with everybody, man.
Who then apologized to Carrot Top after meeting him in person.
And then when I finally meet him, he was like, dude, I am so sorry. Like, he came and hugged me. And
Carrot Top was hated for so long that he's...
Yeah, I'd imagine. I mean, I couldn't tell because I've never met Carrot Top, but I wonder if he's just like not like he's got like maybe he's just like fine in person. You know what I mean? And he's just kind of like his persona has been like something that has driven people crazy.
Now considered a legend.
They're kind of like saying, you know what? Geez, he won't go away. We've been ripping on him, but he's for some reason he's still around, and you know what? He can stay now.
You had somebody
earn my wings.
With Bobby Lee having earned his wings.
That didn't even seem like a really hated comedian there. Normally it's like, okay, I can like that one just kind of felt like he was hated for like his bits. It always does a circle, man. This happens on, oh my God, it happens super quick on Twitter, man. They were hyping up the Barbie movie when it came out in July, and now they're talking about how, it really wasn't even that great. They do this like, I swear, every 6 months, Twitter will flip-flop on something. They're probably going to do the same. They did the same thing with Across the Spider-Verse, man. They're like, can we just talk about how this movie really wasn't that good? And it's like, okay, dude, 6 months later, then it's like Rent's due or something, and so they need to post something stupid to get attention. That's kind of how I feel about Carrot Top, based on what I just heard. Like, he was hated because, like, he was fine, and then he was hated. He was seen as, like, a hack a little bit, but now people are kind of like, I guess I kind of just, like, I thought he was annoying, but I guess it's not really enough reason to absolutely hate somebody.
In a similar kind of way. One of the things that makes Bobby Lee so likable is his ability to laugh at himself for the sake of audience entertainment.
Bro, you're the worst looking of all of us.
What do you think?
Yeah, Bobby's
out
cool.
of 10? For real.
You're a 2, buddy.
2, buddy.
I've never seen Bobby's specials, though. I've never seen any of Bobby's like stand-up. I've only seen him on podcasts. But he's a funny dude.
You're like a 2.5 at most, probably closer to a 1.5.
That's more my fault than anything.
Okay. You want an honest number?
No, honest.
Okay. You want the honest number?
Please.
I was being generous as a 1.5.
I'm a 1.5.
Something close to 1.7.
Did you say what?
Showing that he's comfortable in his own skin. This helps him deliver some of the most savage roasts on the internet.
My dad abandoned me, but then I love my mom. In your face! He doesn't have a dad!
Although just like Theo Von, his fans also have a lot of respect for how open he is with his addiction issues and sobriety.
Right before
he was great on Mad TV.
Get on the plane, I looked at my girlfriend and said, I'm going to relapse.
When it comes to Bobby Lee's stand-up, a Reddit user wrote, I've seen him do the same set at the Comedy Store like 3 or 4 times, and I nearly cried laughing each time, while another person called it the hardest I've laughed at a comedy show of a decent slate of shows.
I've never seen his stand-up.
Bobby Lee finds love from the audience regardless of what he's doing, while the audience has recently been finding many reasons to hate Tom Segura. At the start of his...
Hey, disclosure, I've been doing this the entire time. I'm going to throw out my opinion regardless. I think Tom Segura is genuinely funny.
His career, Tom Segura was one of the more humble comedians. However, after losing over 50 pounds and building a net worth of 12 million, his ego became incredibly obvious. He'd begin to joke about the general population by calling them poors.
So I've received
I think this is, listen, man, I'm going to be, and I could be wrong, but I feel like this is all just like a bit. You know what I mean? This whole thing he's been doing about the poors, as he states, it seems like it's so obviously a bit like meant to just kind of rile people up. But some people genuinely believe, and it's fine if you think like, you're like, okay, I know it's a bit, I just don't think it's funny. That's fine, right? Because it's subjective, all that stuff. But I feel like there's people that genuinely are just, they believe it's real. And maybe it is. Maybe he really does hate poor people. He was a poor person. That would be hypocritical. But I don't know, man. You know me. I'm always separating art and artists.
Number of messages, countless poor people, about the use of a washcloth in the shower. And, it's kind of well known.
Oh, this thing, man.
It's what poors do.
However, it quickly became obvious that he wasn't
they canceled him on Twitter for that, about the washcloth thing.
Really joking.
Every time we talk about like a watch or a car, I'll get a bunch of messages from losers that try to tell me that I'm making them feel bad about their situation. I'm struggling with rent this month. Figure it the out.
In October 2020,
dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay, as somebody that I've struggled with rent before. I'm not now, but I've struggled with rent before. I would still laugh at that. It's such a crazy, insane thing to. Sometimes Shane Gillis does the same thing. Now he's never done anything specifically about like broke people, but the first time I heard that, where he's like, "Figure your shit out, poor," I laughed. It's like, I'll hop on YouTube and Twitter, and I'll see somebody talk about just don't be broke. And it's clearly a joke, right? Like, get some bitches, don't be broke. You know what I mean? And people understand, like, it's a bit for the most part. And I could be wrong, like I said, but damn, dude, I don't know. I laughed at it the first time I heard it.
23, Tom tweeted about being inconvenienced by American Airlines, and after being called entitled by his fans, Tom responded by stating all the poors and losers have the same response. Oh, you were inconvenienced, well, you should accept it. That's what me and my dumb poor family have done for generations. This is why you're poor.
I refuse to accept that that's not a bit. This is why you're a poor. This is like something, this is him playing the most, like, egotistical character that he can possibly play. There's no way, dude. Call me stupid, but it has to be a bit.
In his next tweet, he'd respond to a fan by simply writing poor, while a third tweet read, the lowest level poors
literally, it's just didn't ask.
Get upset, as they've been trained to do when you point out they're happy to do what I'm told servant mentality. They don't value time because their time is worthless. You are specks of shit on a washcloth and washcloths belong in the trash. The rant instantly turned Tom into laughingstock for the internet.
Probably not that much money left over for the guys in the booth either.
Oh,
it's all
man.
Tom and Christina just running around, getting on private jets, making fun of poor people.
While others dug deep to find his wealth was likely inherited.
It turns out Tom was a trust fund kid. His father was the vice president and chief financial advisor of Merrill Lynch for 25 years until
I didn't know that.
he took over as the vice president.
Wasn't he at some point living with Christina, his wife, and they were like pretty broke? I mean, they could have made that up, clearly. You know what I mean? There's people that make up being broke all the time. It's like the most annoying. As somebody that actually grew up broke, it's really annoying. I can always suss out fake, like, not even just like currently broke. Like, obviously it's easy to tell somebody's currently broke, you know what I mean? But like, I can always suss out if somebody is fake being like that kind of person that grew up in poverty. I can always tell.
And CFA for the Bank of America. His obituary mentions that he was a member of the Quail Valley Golf Club in Vero Beach, where a membership will run you a very modest $85,000 a year, not counting all of the other fees.
This led Tom to remove the entire chain of airport tweets and avoid every question that might imply he's rich.
What kind of car you have?
What kind?
You have cars?
Yeah,
How many cars you got? You alright?
It's a bit.
You know what I mean?
Tom Segura has no excuse for being a douche.
Hey, that was a joke there. But I mean, yeah, now he's got money for sure.
Given Gabriel Iglesias is substantially richer
Gabriel's
and is
cool.
one of the most humble comedians. When you type Gabriel Iglesias,
I know a lot of people seem to hate him, kind of in the same way that they hate Dane Cook, but without like the stolen joke drama. Like, they say he's hacky. I like him, man. You know, I understand that it could be like, I guess he's got pretty clean humor for the most part, but like, I like Gabriel.
His controversy into Google, it seems the worst thing he's ever done is pay a fine to a venue for spending too much time recording a Netflix special. Back in 2014, one of these specials was leaked and uploaded to YouTube for free, although instead of issuing a copyright takedown, he'd share the links to his Facebook, adding, "I can't believe someone posted a direct link to watch my fluffy specials online for free. The nerve. I hope no one shares or watches these before they get taken down," prompting a top comment reading, "This is why you're awesome, Fluffy. You don't whine about getting pirated, you promote it."
And the cool thing about him being like that is he's still, like, he's made so much money. He's made more money than certain other comedians that have been worked up about this whole, like, somebody recording their show.
Gabriel's nickname Fluffy is a joke about his own weight, which, like Bobby Lee, shows he's comfortable in his own skin. Although at the same time, Gabriel explained to Joe Rogan that he'd recently lost 70 pounds as a result of following better habits. And it was bad habits that led Carlos Mencia to become incredibly hated.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, bye-bye, dude. I don't know what to tell you. The joke that he stole, man, actually the multiple jokes that he stole were like, come on, man.
Lapse of his reputation
it was so
began
obvious.
after Joe Rogan wrote a book.
Dude, it wasn't just that it was obvious. It was that he like admitted on a mic somewhere. It might have been a video, but I remember hearing the audio. He was basically like, "What are you gonna do about it? Like, I'm the top comedian." He was just yoinking from like open micers and stuff like that.
blog post titled "Carlos Mencia is a weak-minded joke thief," which read, "The latest and most disgusting joke thief of all is a guy named Carlos Mencia. The really crazy thing is that's not even his real name. He sells himself as being Mexican, but the reality is his real name is Ned Holness, and he's actually half German and half Honduran. The Mexican hook is something he did to integrate himself with the local Mexican population of LA where he started. From here, Joe began calling him Carlos Menstelia before confronting him on stage in an actual comedy club, which was recorded and uploaded to YouTube."
See, this is why, that's the thing, right? Like, sometimes Joe will say things that maybe I think are stupid. Sometimes I might disagree with him on some things, but he's also done like so many things that I respect. Like this whole situation, the fact that he's platformed like a lot of like really cool comedians and some that aren't as cool. He's brought like scientists on to learn new things. And also his kick is absolutely insane. You know what I mean?
It's easy to say you steal shit, but I don't.
I know people don't like his comedy,
I
but
think that every time you open your mouth, you talk about me. I think that you're secretly in love with me.
Despite denying the allegations, Carlos was then exposed for stealing from Bill Cosby and Ari Shaffir, after which Carlos made the crazy decision to own the fact that he stole all his jokes.
His attitude was this, like, yeah, I steal. If I'm in the back of the room, you better watch your material because I'll take it, remix it, and make it a hit.
From here, almost every comedian destroyed Carlos Mencia.
A lot of your material, I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of your material was too similar to Paul Mooney or Bill Hicks.
And he went from performing in stadiums to small clubs. There's a heavy price to pay for cutting corners in comedy, whereas Chris Rock discovered there's much to gain in the power of a single slap. Chris Rock has been
I wouldn't say Chris Rock is universally loved. Because I think the most recent special, a lot of people were complaining about it not being funny.
Since the mid-1980s, although it seems being slapped by Will Smith made him even more loved.
That was crazy.
Ironically, the Will Smith slap made Chris a beloved winner. Will Smith accomplished the impossible with one targeted slap. Now everybody loves Chris. This was reinforced when Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage, after which Chris Rock jumped on the mic to ask,
Was that Will Smith?
Chris Rock just proved that if someone does you wrong in life, just wait, and the perfect moment will present itself. Proud of Chris Rock. He didn't let the Will Smith incident take him to a place of bitterness and anger, but stays humble and even makes a joke out of such a difficult spot to be in.
Yeah, because like, bro, when I saw the video, I was amazed that Chris Rock didn't immediately respond and say something like just absolutely roast Will. I was surprised he held back in that moment because you could tell he probably had something lined up, but he was like, you know what? I'm gonna be the bigger man.
There could not have a more perfect moment to drop that line. And the fact that Chris Rock wasn't really talking about the altercation before leading up to this just adds to the perfection of his delivery. And when Chris Rock did address the controversy in his special, he reinforced a winner's mindset.
But I'm not a victim, baby. You will never see me on Oprah or Gail. I couldn't believe it. And I love Men in Black. No, I took that hit like Pacquiao.
True. Hey, true. Anyways, yeah, pretty much. Hold on, let's do a quick review here. Dane Cook, who I don't hate, I still stand by that, even though the second joke with Dimitri Martin is very suspicious. The Louis C.K. one I understand, because I feel like two people could have come up with that. Theo Von, is there really anything to say? Theo Von's a genius. He's a secret genius. I mean, just genuine. Brendan Schaub, I don't hate. The thing about Brendan Schaub is I just don't hate him as much as people that hate Brendan Schaub hate Brendan Schaub. I just think like, that's not a good special, you know? Ooh, that wasn't good. That wasn't a good joke. That's about it. I don't care about him peeing in the sink. I don't care. I care about him cheating on his wife, potentially. I think that's a messed up thing to do. He has kids. I don't know if that's true or not, but you get the idea. Shane, Shane is one of the best new comedians that we have. Watch his special. Carrot Top, don't even hate him. And I feel like the reasoning in this video, it just kind of explains itself, man. It was just like people kind of went through a cycle where it's like they loved him, and then of course, years later, they hate him because they think it's hacky, and then they love him again. They at least realize that they might have hated him for the wrong reasons. I always thought Bill Burr was in this. Bobby, never seen his specials, but I've seen his podcast. Definitely funny. Tom, this is another one that I think is going to be personal preference. Whether or not you think his jokes about the poors are jokes, or just a bit to get people riled up, which is what I think, but it is what it is. But by the way, even if it is a bit and you don't think it's funny, fair enough. Who's next? Gabriel, of course. Can anyone really be mad at him for anything ever? I don't think so. And then Carlos and Chris Rock. No, these all make sense to me for the most part. You know, it's just some of the hated ones are like, are they really as hated, or is it just kind of like people are lukewarm?